Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we'll be completing in today's video. If you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, before we get started, the only thing that you'll need to do is download the color palette, which I have linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just open up the file that downloads and it'll automatically import into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along. There are quite a lot of them. This is also a great drawing though to use your own colors if you don't like this color palette. It's got a lot of bright colors, so maybe you want more blues or pinks or anything like that. Go ahead and make it your own if you would like. So go ahead and grab that if you would like to, and then come on back and we will get into it. Okay, first we'll go over the canvas dimensions that we're using today. I have them set to 10 inches by 10 inches at 300 dpi, and the color profile that I'm using is the second RGB color profile on the RGB list. And this is the color palette. Again, there's tons and tons of colors, different shades and stuff as we, go through all the different layers. So the first thing we'll do actually is grab this very first color on the first row, and we are going to drop that on layer 1 to fill that entire layer as our background. Go into the layers menu, add a new layer on top of this one, go into the color palette and select the second color on the top row. And the brush we'll be using today is under the calligraphy menu. It's the monoline brush. We'll have it set to about 50%. And the first thing we're going to do is just draw a couple little hills in the background, pretty close to the top of the page. And then we are going to add another layer on top of that and go and grab the next color, which is the third one on the top row, and do one big hill right underneath the first layer that we drew. Add a new layer on top of that, go back and grab the next color, and this time we're going to start from the right side of the screen and kind of draw a curved line here, and then another curved line going off the left of the screen, and this will make one big shape for this hill. And then we will go ahead and fill in that layer. Awesome. Okay. We're gonna have one more purple hill, so let's go into our layers menu. Add a new layer on top of this one, go back in and grab our last purple. It's the really, really dark one on the first row. And this one we're gonna make quite a few little bumps going across and then fill it in. Okay, add a new layer on top of this one and go in and grab this next color next to that dark purple. It's a really light blue. We're going to draw a line across the screen, hold it down so it turns into a straight line, and then touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. And then go ahead and fill in below that. We want it really close to the hills that we just drew on that last layer. Okay, and then go into our layers menu, click on this layer we just made and click alpha lock to turn alpha lock on. Go into the color menu, select the next color on top row, and we are going to draw a diagonal line across this. It's our water layer basically, so this is kind of like some sunshine hitting our water, and then we're going to fill it in below that so that we have a nice little section there. Next, go back into the color palette and select the last color on the top row. Change our brush. We are going to go to the charcoal section in the to be compressed at about 30%, and we're just going to lightly, on that same layer that we drew this on, we are going to lightly drag this across the screen to add some texture and depth to our water. Okay, we are done with that. So we're going to add another new layer. So go into our layers menu, add a new layer on top of this one, and go back into our color palette. And now we will move on to the second row. Grab this first color in the second row and go back to our monoline brush. Same setting as before. And we're just going to draw a little hill on the right side of our screen here with this green color and fill that in. Okay, next add a new layer on top of that one, and we are going to go into the color palette, and we're actually going to jump to the fourth color on the second row here. The second and third color we'll use later, but we are going to draw a straight across line. So hold your finger down to make it a perfectly horizontal line. And then what we're going to do here is actually we want this to cover about 1/3 of the bottom of our canvas. So position it about 1/3 of the way up and then fill below it. And then we can adjust our background layers to move them up a little so we can see them better. So I'm just selecting all of them and moving them up just a smidge. If you need to move stuff around, make sure that snapping and magnetics are turned on in the bottom left so that your stuff stays in line and doesn't go off the side of the screen when you're moving it. And then like this green hill layer that I drew, I can barely see, so I'll move that one up more. So again, just make some adjustments, but we do want this layer in front to be about 1/3 of the screen to draw our trees and stuff on. Okay, when you have your layers arranged how you'd like them, we're going to start adding some shading and other details. So let's go back into our layers menu, and this green hill layer that we created before, we're going to click on it and click Alpha Lock, and then go into our color palette and select the second color on the second row, and then we're going to go back to our brush menu and go back to our 2B charcoal brush. I'm going to add some shadows right at the bottom of that hill. Go back into our color menu and select the third color on the second row, and using the same brush, just add some highlights to the top of the hill there. Okay, and then we are going to do a similar thing that we did to the water to this front patch of grass here. So let's go into our layers menu, find that patch of grass, click on it and click Alpha Lock. Go into our color menu and select the last color on the second row, and then find our monoline brush again under the calligraphy tab, and then we are going to draw like a big sun ray coming from the right side of the screen. So draw a line, hold it down to make it perfectly straight, and then draw another line and hold it down to make it straight, so that we kind of have a little angled ray of sunshine like this on the grass. And then with that same layer selected, we're going to go into our color palette and get this first layer on the second row here and go back to our 2B charcoal brush. And we're just going to add some texture all through the grass. So some in the little sunshine patch that we just made, but also on the rest of the layer. Awesome. Okay, now it's time to add our trees finally. So we are going to go back to our layers menu, and we're going to add a new layer on top of all the layers here, and we are going to go to our color palette and select this first color on the last row, and then go back to our monoline brush again, same settings, and the first thing we're going to do is draw a curved line that's going to be the bottom of our tree. Hold your pen down to make the curved line become perfectly smooth. And then we're going to draw a bigger curved line on top of it and connect it at the side. So go ahead and click Edit Shape at the top so that you can really connect those lines on the side, and then you should get a tree shape that looks like this. Then go ahead and fill it in, and I'm going to grab the arrow tool and just move it over to the left a little bit. Right about here. So it's covering some of the water, but also still on the grass. Okay, and like we've been doing, we're going to find this layer, click on it, and click Alpha Lock. And then in the color palette, let's select the second color on the last row. Go back to our 2B charcoal brush, and we are just going to add some highlights to the top right side of the tree here, kind of at a diagonal. And then I'm going to push really hard right at the edge of the tree to make it a little bit brighter right there. Okay, then let's add a new layer on top of this one. Go into our color palette and select the third color on this last row. Back to our monoline brush, and we're going to do the same thing again. So we're going to draw another tree over here. Start with the bottom curved line. If it tries to turn into a straight line like this, just click Edit Shape, and hopefully it gives you the arc option, and you can click that to turn into a curved line. If not, just redraw it. And then let's make another one on top of this. And sometimes you'll get a shape that just won't work out, and you just gotta redraw it. And then make sure it all matches up nicely, and go ahead and fill it in. And then just like before, Let's find this layer, click on it and click Alpha Lock, go into the color palette, select the next color, the fourth one, and then go back to our charcoal brush and do the same thing, add some little highlights to the top right side of the tree here, making it extra bright right on the very edge. And we're going to add one last tree, so let's add a new layer. Back to the color palette, let's find this fifth color on the last row, and then go back to our monoline brush. And this one we're going to draw over on the left here, and it's going to be kind of like a medium size. So the first one was pretty large, the second one pretty small, this one will do kind of medium. Go ahead and adjust the shape so that it all lines up and you like the shape of your tree. And then go ahead and fill it in. And then for the last time, let's go and turn this into an alpha lock layer and find our next color on the color palette, this lighter yellow. Go back to our 2B charcoal brush and add some highlights to this tree. Next, we're going to add some details, so let's add a new layer on top of everything. Go into our color palette and select the last color on the last row. It's a black. And then go into our brushes menu and we are going to find the inking category and use the dry ink brush at about 10%. And we're just going to lightly draw some tree trunks. So draw a straight line, hold it down so that it turns perfectly straight. And we're going to draw some little curved lines for the branches inside. So let's see, we'll do 2 on this big tree, and then I think we'll do just 1 little branch on the inside of each of these smaller trees here. And then while we're on that same layer with that same brush, we are going to add some birds to this sky. So we are going to draw some pretty flat lines that have just a very, very slight curve in the middle. And then we're going to fill that a bit in kind of where the body of the bird would be to make it a little thicker. We'll make some of them bigger, some of them smaller. And I think I'm going to make about 5 of them. Okay, now that they're all done, I'm not sure that I love the positioning of them, so I might move them around a little bit. I'm gonna grab the selection tool and grab this one here and just kind of move it over. Okay, I think I like that a little bit better. Okay, so now we're gonna add the shadows underneath the trees, which is our last step. So let's find this grass layer and add a new layer on top of it. Go into our color palette and select second to last layer in the last row. It's kind of a grayish color. And then we are going to go grab our monoline brush again under the calligraphy tab. And we are just going to draw some shadows stemming from the tree trunks facing towards the left of the page and going off that side of the screen. So just draw a straight line, hold your pen down to make it perfectly straight. So we're going to just draw kind of a V shape here, fill that in. Then we're going to start under this bigger tree here and kind of draw another V shape, adding to our first shape that we created. And then we are going to do the same with the last tree, kind of pretend that a shadow is being created by that sticks out even further, and fill that in as well. Then on our layers menu, to turn this into more of a shadow, we are going to click on this N here and drag this up to multiply. So these are the different layer styles. Multiply is great for shadows, but it's a little dark, so let's drag that down to about 60 to 70%. So that just creates a nice layer. Beautiful. And that is our picture today. I hope you had fun. If you did, go ahead and give this a thumbs up. and subscribe if you haven't yet, if you would like to see more tutorials. If you want to share your picture on Instagram, please do so and tag me so that I can see how it turned out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks so much for watching!